Hello and welcome to this masterclass on Gatling. This is part 2. In part 1 we have started with Gatling and we have seen the basics. So in this part 2, let me very quickly show you the topics. In part 1 we have seen what is Gatling, we looked at the features, how to use Gatling, the two options, and then we started with the Gatling standalone. How do we download Gatling as a standalone tool and how can we use it. We have also seen the recorder, how can we use the Gatling recorder as HER converter and in the proxy mode, and then we ran our script and we also looked at reports. So now we will start with the Gatling project, and again this is going to be very easy, very interesting, and I will start from scratch and we will go up step by step. So do not worry if you are a complete beginner, we will start from scratch. So in the Gatling project setup, we will set up our Gatling as a project with a build tool. So we are going to use Maven as the build tool, and we also need an IDE, and for that we will use IntelliJ. Now in case you want to use any other IDE, that is okay, you can use any IDE where you can create your project and you can use Gatling, either it is Eclipse or VS Code, you can use anyone, but in this particular session I'm going to use IntelliJ. Okay, so we will see how can we clone an existing project. We will see both the ways, how can we create a new Maven project and how can we clone an existing Gatling project, and then we will see how can we do record and setup of Gatling script, how do we run our tests and then check the reports. So here the prerequisites are, we will need JDK on the system, and in the last session we have already seen how can we install and set up JDK on the system. uh, JDK is also a prerequisite for standalone Gatling, so we have seen that in the last session. We will need Scala, although you will not need to install Scala on the system. If it is on the system you can use it, otherwise if it is not on your system installed, even then it is fine, as long as we can use Scala as a library or as a plugin on the IDE. Then we need Maven, and then we need IDE. For this we are going to use IntelliJ. Okay, so let us check this. I am on my Windows system here, and if you want you can also use this on Mac system. So first I will go to my command line. I press the Windows key and I typed CMD to bring the command line option and hit enter. So if I check for Java space hyphen version, you can see it is showing me the Java version. To check if it is if JDK is installed, I will check the Java compiler by saying Java C space hyphen version, and the Java compiler or JDK is also present on my system. Then if I have to use Gatling Maven project, I should also have Maven on the system. Now if you clone a project, you can still use it directly on your IDE, but when you have to run the Maven commands, you should have Maven on the system. So for that, if I say Maven mvn space hyphen version, it is not there. So let us very quickly first get Maven on our system. So I will search for Maven download, and this takes me to the Apache Maven website, which is this one. And here we have all the options, so I can get a binary zip, source zip, all this is option is here. Let me just get the binary zip archive from here, which will download as a zipped folder, and then you can unzip and keep at any location on the system. So it is downloading it here, and once downloaded we will unzip, and then we will also set the environment variables for Maven. Okay, so let us go and check. Yes, it is downloaded and it has come here, and you can unzip and keep at any location on your system. For now I will go to my D drive and I'm going to create a folder called mvn. You can create the folder anywhere or just directly download or unzip it anywhere. So let me just go here to my downloads folder. I will do a right click on this folder and extract all, and let me browse it. I will keep in my D drive directly. Let me just keep it here. It will anyway gets extracted in a folder. So it is done, and yes, you can see it has updated, it has extracted here. I will just delete this one, I don't need it. So we have got our Maven folder. If you try to check now with the command mvn version, it is still not there on the system. The reason is we have not yet set the environment variables. So copy this path wherever you have your Maven folder and go to the environment variables. We have also seen about environment variables in the earlier session. So I'm directly going to my environment variables here, and I will go to the system environment variables. If you have option to if you don't have option to change or set system environment variables, you can also do it in the user environment variables. So I will click on new, and I will create a variable called maven underscore home, and I will copy this path. You can also browse the directory and then use it. I will say OK. Now some applications try to search for Maven in this environment variable called maven underscore home, and some other applications try to search for Maven in the variable m2 underscore home. So let me also create one more variable called m2 underscore home and give the same location, so that in both the cases it should work. Now I will search for path environment variable, edit, and add the path until the bin folder of Maven folder. So this path I will add it here in a new row. Now here the other way is I have already added this value in the Maven home environment variable, so I can refer it from there, and for that I will keep the variable name within percentage sign. So I will say Maven underscore home, so it will refer that value, and then append backslash bin, and I will say OK, OK, and OK. And if I now go to the command line and again run the command mvn space hyphen version, I am still not getting the result here. The reason is this command line is still maintaining the old session. So I will exit from here and I will open a new command line, and if I now check for mvn space hyphen version, we have Maven on our system, and the steps remain same for Mac as well. Also on Mac you can use other options, like we can use homebrew to install Maven on Mac. So once we have Maven, we also already have JDK, we now have Maven. Now we will use some IDE. So I'm going to use IntelliJ, and for that I will go to the I will go to IntelliJ idea and say download, and here is the website. Now here if you see this one that you see here is going to be the ultimate edition, and we don't need the ultimate edition. We will try to take the community edition. So let us see where it is. If you scroll down, you should get this IntelliJ idea community edition, or just search directly for IntelliJ idea community edition download. So this should take you to this link, and here it's the community edition. So you can check here, you can download it as an exe and then you can install it on the system, or you can download it as a zip file, a zip folder, and then unzip, and you can keep at any location on your system and start IntelliJ. So I am downloading it as a zip folder, and once it is downloaded we will unzip it. So now I will have to unzip it, and I can keep at any location on the system. So I'm going to keep it in my D drive, and I will create a new folder called IDE here, and I will keep it here. So I'll do a right click here extract all. I will browse to the folder called IDE and extract. So you can see it will extract everything in this IDE folder, and you can see it is now extracting. So once this is complete, we will be able to use IntelliJ IDEA. So let's wait for this to get complete. Okay, this is done, and if I go here, you can see there is a bin folder. If you go inside the bin folder, you will see there is a application file IDE64.exe. This is what we will use to start the IDE. Double click and this should start IntelliJ IDEA. And yes, it is starting. And this will start the IDE. So this is now available for us, and we have options to create a new project, open a project, and all these options are here. And if I go to plugins, you can always also find all the plugins that we can use with IntelliJ. So now let us go. We have already done step number 1. We have checked Java is there. Scala, as I said, it is optional, and we can, if we have option to get Scala plugin, it is okay, we can use that without having to install it on our system. Now in IntelliJ IDEA, I will get the Scala plugin. So here, if I go to plugins, and also if this particular step you are not able to do now, it's okay, you can check it later as well. For now, I will very quickly go to the plugin section, and now here are the installed plugins. Here is the marketplace. If I search for Scala here, it will show me the Scala plugin, and yes, it is here. I will install this. So it will give me all the support for a Scala project on the IntelliJ IDEA. It is asking us to restart IDE, so I will say restart, and it will restart the IDE. Now see, in case I will show you an example of a Gatling Scala project, but in case you want to use Gatling with Java or Kotlin, it is all fine. You can still follow me, and I will show you the differences, and I will show you what you can do, from where you can see the sample code and what all you will need to do. So the concepts remain same. It is only some syntax that will change, and also as I told you that Gatling has its own DSL created over these languages, that is Java, Scala, Kotlin. So ultimately, once you understand the Gatling DSL, that is domain specific language, and its keywords and its syntax, then that will be the same that will be used in your entire project. So you don't have to worry on the programming language. Also, you don't have to worry in case I am using a different language and you want to use a different language. Still, you can follow me, and I will also show you some examples from where you can refer the code if you have to. Okay, so this is done, and we have got our IntelliJ ready. Now, as I said, we have two options to create a Gatling project. One is we can create a new Maven project, or we can clone an existing project. So we will see both the options. Let us first see the first option, which is how do we create a new Gatling Maven project. Okay, so for this we will create a new folder, a project folder, and then go to that project folder. So here I'll go to my D drive, and here I am going to I'll create a folder called projects, where I will keep all my projects, and I will go inside this folder, and I will now create a folder for, let us say, Gatling. Okay, and here this folder I will open on a command line. I will go to my command line, and because that folder is on D drive and I am on my C drive on command line, I will go to D, I will say D colon, hit enter to change the drive, and then I will say CD to change directory space and the location of the folder. The other option is, as we have seen in the last session, last part, you can go to the folder and on the address bar here I will say cmd and press enter, and that will open the command line on the same folder. So that is another option. Okay, so I have gone here. Now we already have Maven, so just you can confirm and check MVN version so that the Maven commands will work here. Now we have to run the command mvn archetype generate, and during this process, whenever you face any issues, you can let me know. And also, if this is not working for you due to any reason, do not worry. In the next option, where we will see how can we clone an existing latest project from official Gatling project, you can directly get a project and it will have all the setup, and we will not have to do any manual setup. So just wait for that option as well, and then you can see which works best for you. So here I will say mvn and I will run this command archetype generate. So run this, and here it will give us some options. Now I can directly also give options along with the command, and you can see this is the first time I'm running this command, so it is also setting up some basic libraries. Now it is saying us choose a filter or apply format. So here I will say Gatling, so that it will filter and show me options for Gatling, and it has found a single option which is io.gatling high charts, and I will choose this. You can just hit enter or choose the number 1, which is the only option. Here it is asking us to check the version, select the version. So now if you see here, this gives me the latest version 3.6.1, which has been there for some time, and now we have 3.10 also, I believe. So because it is not having the latest version, we will mostly go with the second option, but let me complete this and show you. You can hit enter because it has already chosen 42, and here it is asking us to give a group ID. So you can give some group ID com.gatling.test, and this will be our packages. Then artifact ID, I will say Gatling Maven project 1, and version I will just hit enter to keep it by default. This will be our package, and I will say Y and hit enter, and you can see it says build success. The project is created. Also you can check by going to the folder. You can see here Gatling project 1 is created, and it is also having a pom.xml file. Okay, now we can import or open the project in our IDE. So let me go to IntelliJ IDEA. I will say open, and I will go to the project folder which is in my D drive, projects, and Gatling Maven project 1. Now here you don't have to select the project folder. Select pom.xml file in the project folder and say OK, so that it will know it is a Maven project, and say open as project and trust it, and it will open the project in the IDE. Now this can, once a Maven project is opened in the IDE, it can take some time. It will check the pom.xml file and whatever dependencies are there, it will import and download them. So it can take some time. You can also check at the bottom, you will see some processes running, some progress bars here. So if it is uh, doing some processes, let it complete. It can take a minute or so, and then you can see here is my project. You can open it. Here is the project folder, and let me check this. So I will expand and check the folder. Okay, so here we can see we have got our src folder, test folder, resources, Scala. Let me check. I will change this theme to a light theme so that it is easier for you to see. I will go to settings. So go to file and settings, and here I will change this theme appearance to light, and also I will change the fonts. So if I search for font here, so we have got here, and let me change it to, let us say, 17. Should be good. Okay, so here we can see we have got our project src test resources Scala folder. If you check the resources folder, you will see the gatling.conf file here, and under the Scala folder you will see a recorder class and engine class and IDE path helper class, and then our pom.xml file. So if I open the pom.xml file, you can see here it shows us all the dependencies, all the properties and plugins if there are any. So this is our pom.xml file. Okay, so now we are ready with this project, and it can be used to create more scripts, and we can also use recorder and then Gatling engine. Now this is done. This is option 1, and now let us see option 2. In option 2, we will directly clone an existing official Gatling project so that it will have everything and we don't have to do any manual setup. So here you can go to the link. So this is a link for the Java project of Gatling. So if I go here, let me show you. This is the official Gatling GitHub repository, and this is the latest Java project. Now in case it is not the latest project, you will see, if you scroll down, you will see some information here that where is the latest project, and you can also see from here if it is the latest. It was just updated 2 weeks ago, and then this one is the link for the Gatling Scala project. So let me show you this one as well. Also you can just search for Gatling GitHub Java project or Scala project or Maven project, and it will show you some links, and you can check if this is the latest one or not. So here you can see this one also is the latest one, updated just 2 weeks ago. So this is what we will need. So you can just copy the link, or you can also get the link from here and then go to your IDE, that is IntelliJ, and we can clone and download it. So you can go from file, new project from version control. So let us go here, file, and go to new, and we have option new project. We have option new project from version control. This is what I will select. I will give the URL here, and then you have to select the local folder where you will store the project. So for this I will go to my D projects, and here I have this project already created. This is a empty folder. Let me use this one. I will call this as Gatling demo project. So basically you create a empty folder somewhere, and this is what I will use for cloning. Okay, so I will use this folder and say clone, you will see some processes happening here at the bottom, and then you can say trust project, and you can say open. You can open it in a new window or the same window. I will say this window so that it closes the earlier window, earlier project, and this will get open. And now you can see here we have got our project. Now it is still running some processes. You can see here, you can wait for a minute or two for it to complete everything. It will check our pom.xml file and download the required dependencies, and will do all the setup itself. Okay, so here I will check this. Once it is done, you can check, and also you can see it also has all the same structure. We have the src folder, then we have the test folder. Under test we have resources folder which has gatling.conf file, and it has some more files as well. Then under the Scala folder it has engine class, recorder class, IDE helper, and it also has some demo scripts already created. So this is where we will create our Gatling performance test scripts. Okay, and here you can also check we have got pom.xml, and this is our pom.xml, and it is, you can see it is using the latest version of Gatling, which is as of time of recording this video 3.10.4, and all these are already set. All the dependencies are there. Now we don't have to make any changes here. We can directly use our project. We can directly use it to record our tests, run our tests. Okay, so we have done this process also, clone existing project. Okay, now in case you are using a Scala project, there are few more things that you should check. So here you should either have Scala on your system. Now if I check on my system, if I go to my command line and say Scala hyphen version, I'm not getting any option, any result. That means Scala is not set up on my system. However, I have added the Scala plugin on my IDE, that is IntelliJ. So if I go to file and go to plugin, or you can also do double shift, press double shift on IntelliJ and search for anything. Let me say plugin. So this should give me options. So yes, plugins are here, and here you can see I have already added the Scala plugin. So that means I can run a Scala project, I can use a Scala project on the IDE, and as long as I do not use any Scala commands from the terminal or command line, I can still use it. So that is fine. And then I have done this step. I have added the Scala plugin. Now this particular step, if you go to file project structure, if I go to file and go to project structure, here you can see, if I go to, you can see your project and you can see the Java JDK it is using. In case you want, you can change it or edit from here. You can also add, download and add new JDK if you require. Then if you go to modules, it will show you your structure, and here you should see your Scala folder should be marked as test sources folders, and the resources folder should be under resources folder, or here it should be marked as test resources folder. So these two are important. Test sources folder should be Scala, test resources folder should be the resources folder. And in case it is not there, I will tell you how to do this. Now if you go to the, in the SDKs, you can see JDKs here. In the global libraries, in case you have added Scala on your system, you can add it from here, but we don't need it as we have the Scala plugin. Then as I told you, if your Scala folder is not marked as test sources root, then you can do a right click on your Scala folder here. See, it is already marked, because by looking at these symbols also you can make out. Otherwise you can do a right click and say mark directory as, they will be test sources root, but the option is not there because it is already marked. And similarly for the resources folder, if it is not already marked, you will do a right click and mark as test resources root. okay, but it is already marked by default. Mostly it will be already set. Okay, now here I'm getting some options, unresolved plugins, compiler plugin, this. So for now you can see what are the errors and you can try to figure out and resolve them. Also you can once close and reopen your project, and sometimes if there are some issues with the dependencies or some references, it will take care of that. So this is our project. Let us open it again. Okay, so now we will see if there are any issues. We will look at it later. And this is our project ready for use. Okay, so we have done Gatling project setup, prerequisites. Option 1 we have seen, and option 2 also we have seen. Now we will see record and run test from the project. Okay, so here let us go to the Scala folder and go to the engine class. So this is the class that will be used to run our Gatling tests, but before running we need to check if we are able to record. So go to the recorder class. This is the class that will run the recorder, and you can run it from here, this run button, or you can do a right click and we have option to run recorder. Also at the top we have option to run the current file. So you can use any of these options and run the recorder class, and this should open the Gatling recorder. So as of now we are just checking if we are able to run the recorder. We have already seen the details about the recorder, how to use it. We have already seen the different modes, how to use the recorder in a HAR converter mode, and then how to use it in a proxy mode. So all that we have seen about the recorder, and it is the same recorder, it will be the same recorder. So let us just wait. Now see, it is also running some, reading some compilation settings and running something, as it is the first time we are using the project. So if you are also seeing some processes happening, you can let it happen and wait for it to complete. Now see, it has started execution. So in the console we can see it is running something, and yes, it has started the recorder. And you can see this is the same recorder as we have seen earlier. We have this HAR and HAR converter and HTTP proxy modes, and all the other things we have already seen. We will see some more options with the recorder, but for now we are just checking that we are able to run the recorder application. And see, when you use this recorder and when you record anything, and when you create the script, generate the Gatling simulation script, by default it will go in the project folder, in the Scala folder, projects Scala folder. So you can see this, it will go here in the Scala folder, and then you can see there is one simulation already added as a example. And if you check this, this is our simulation script which is here. It is running a test on the computer database application, so it is already here. And just to check if it is able to run the simulation, we will run the engine class and check. So I will go to the engine class and run the engine class. You can also do a right click and say run engine. And you can see it is running. It is asking, this is the only simulation executing it. If you want to select the run description, it will be optional. So it has already started. You can double click here to expand this window, and we can see the run is in progress. And once executed, we can also see the reports. So you can see the reports goes in the target folder, and if you want, you can directly click from here and open the report. You can also see the results in the logs as well. and it opens the report, and you can see the report is here. And as we have seen earlier, we can see it in a dark mode, or we can see it in a light mode, and it has all the details of our test. And if you see here the users, now it has a mix of different users, and this is as per our script. So that sample script that we ran, if I again go back and check the sample script, here you can see the setup part. If I scroll down, you can see here we are running 10 users during 10 seconds, ramping up to 10 users, then here ramping up to 2 users during 10 seconds. These users are running different scenarios. All this we will learn in this masterclass. So our project is working fine. We are able to run the recorder, we are able to run the Gatling simulation script, and we have done all these steps. Okay. Okay, now see, we have seen both these options, how to use Gatling. We have seen the option how can we use Gatling as a standalone tool by downloading the Gatling bundle and using it, and for that we just need JDK on our system. We have seen this in the first part, in the earlier part, and today here we have seen this particular option, how can we use Gatling with the project with a build tool. Now from here it is your wish if you want to use Gatling in a project, or you want to continue with the standalone Gatling. You can continue both the ways, any ways you can choose. Just in case you are facing any issues with the project setup, you can continue with the standalone Gatling. So basically we will need few things. We will need to run the recorder, we will need to record our test, and then use the recorder to use our recorded test and generate the Gatling script, and then we will have to open our Gatling script and do some changes, and then finally as per our requirement of the performance test we will have to edit our script and then run it the scripts and check the reports. So this can be done in any of the ways. So based on whatever you find easier and efficient, you can continue from here. So I will go to the next step, which is here, Gatling script preparation. Okay, now here in the Gatling script preparation, basically what we do is when we generate our script using the Gatling recorder, it has some extra sections. Also the request names are not proper, so all that we can do, and then we can save our script. So for that let us see an example. I'm going to open the, let me first create a HER script. So I will go to the, I'm going to the Gatling demo website, which is computer database here, and I will also open the network log. So I will go to more tools, I'm clicking on these three buttons, more tools, developer tools, and I'm on the networks tab here. Make sure that there are no earlier logs, so clear in case there are any earlier logs. Make sure preserve log is on and recording is on. Now to also record, going to the page, I will refresh or reload the page. So it is now recorded, and I will go to, let us say I will search a computer here, click here, go to the computers page, then edit the computer, give some name, dates and company, save the computer, and then stop the recording and do a right click on the logs and save all as HER with content. I will call it as demo2.her. demo1 HER we created in the earlier session, so this can be demo2.her, or it can be any name with the extension .her. And now I will open the Gatling recorder. If you want, you can open the Gatling recorder from your standalone Gatling folder, or I will use this one here. I will say run recorder, it is getting the recorder ready, and yes, I will say HER converter here, browse the HER file. So I believe it is in my downloads folder. Yes, and now here you can select the package. Now whatever package name you select will come here as a package. So computer database is already there, so in case you want to store within this, you can use this, or you can use a different package. Let me continue with this because anyways it is our computer database application. And then here is the class name, so I will call this as demo test1, and format is Scala. I will select here. Rest of the things I will keep it as it is. Then the simulation folder is also by default our project's Scala folder, and I will say no static resources and click on start, and this is done. I will say OK, and if you want you can close the recorder now. And if you check here in your src test Scala folder, the package name is computer database, and here is our class. And let us open this class and check. So I'll double click this and expand the window. So here you can see this is our Gatling simulation script. So here now to do script preparation is kind of cleaning up and tidying up the script. You will see in any Gatling simulation script at the top you will see some imports, and these two imports are very common and very basic, that is gatling.core.predef. so gatling.core and gatling.http. Then you will see the class name, it will always extend the simulation class of Gatling. Then you will see a section for the protocol. Here we give the common protocol for all the requests, which can include the base URL and also some common headers which will go with all the requests. Okay, then you can see some header maps. Now here in the header maps it is mostly the information about your client, like your system from where you are sending the request. It is a Windows system, and then the browser, its version, etc. And generally these are not required. So you can see it has created some header maps for us. Generally these are not required, so you can clean these header maps. So I will select and remove these header maps. Now after that you will see this is our scenario. So we have the first section was protocol, then we have scenario. Scenario has our actual request and our actual steps, and you can see here it says demo test 1, and then our requests. First we went to the home page. You can see a get request to the home page. Then we searched for that particular computer, or we went to the particular computer's page. So again you can see a get request to that computer page. Then we did some changes. So that was a post request updating a resource. So you can see a post request, and we can see all the details we have given there. Okay, now here because I have removed the header maps, I will also have to remove its references from here. Now here you have to be very careful. We just have to remove this part only. If there are any commas after this, you have to preserve them. So make sure that you only remove the headers part. Similarly here, and wherever you can find the references. Okay, now here this particular line has nothing, so I can remove it completely. I can keep on pressing the back or the space backspace, or press Ctrl X on your keyboard to remove that particular line. Okay, rest of the things are same, are okay. Now these are the request names, and this gets shown on the report. As you can see here, if you see any report, you will see these are the request names that get show here, that are shown here. And if you want, you can give some meaningful names here. So this is, I will say load home page. I will say this is select computer, and this is edit or update computer. Alright, and then finally you can see the setup section where we give the virtual user information. So we have protocol, scenario and setup. So this is the setup section. Now here you can give your user load. If you see this example class, example simulation script, here you can see we can give users with different ramp up and different users doing different things. Now here it is a single user running this particular scenario, which is SCN, which is this scenario. If you just want, you can increase some user count until maybe say 10. Now as I have discussed this in the first part, if you are learning this and if you are using Gatling on your primary system, make sure that you do not increase the user count to a very high count. You can go up to 10, 50 or 100 also is fine, although Gatling does not use a lot of system resources, but still if you want to do a real world performance test, always use a separate systems and separate environment. So for now let us start with 10 users, and that's it. This is how we can prepare our script and we can clean up our script. And now I can just go and run the engine class. You can also select from here, or you can go to the engine class and then run it. Make sure that you save your script, and this time it will also show you the option to run this particular simulation, and yes, it is at index number 1. So I will say 1 and give some description which is optional. This will be shown in the report, and let me double click this so that you can see the logs. So we have, it is running the home page, and now the select computer page with 10 virtual users, and then it will also run the edit computer page. And yes, this is done. You can see all the stats here, and also here is our report. So you can see the report and you can see all the stats here, and here you can see it is running with a constant user load of 10 users, and I can go and check the details. Also you can now see it is giving meaningful names here: select computer, edit computer, load home page. So this is now working fine. Okay, so we have done this as well. Alright, now let us go back to our Gatling recorder, and let us look at some options which will be very handy and very useful. So I'll go and open my Gatling recorder. So let's start the recorder now. Alright, so we have got our recorder window open. I will just minimize all these open windows. Okay, now here in the Gatling recorder you can see here are some checkboxes. Okay, so what are these checkboxes and what do they mean? So let us understand this. The first checkbox is follow redirects. Now by default you will see this follow redirects option is checked, and what does this mean is, now sometimes in our applications and websites, when they receive a request, when the main server receives a request, it may address the request and send the response directly, or it can redirect the request to some other servers, to some other proxy. This can be done due to various reasons, to maintain a balance, to make sure that different servers address different requests. So whatever be the reason at the backend, there may be option, there may be a scenario where our request is not getting serviced from the main server or from the place where we send the request, but from a different server, different resource. In that case, if that happens and if this is checked, it will follow where the request is going and then also will send a request to that location. So Gatling recorder will automatically follow the redirects, and these are the status codes, and in case it receives a redirected response, the Gatling recorder will automatically send a new request to the redirected location. Also this can be seen in our reports. You can see this one here, the edit computer. We can see this one. This is the place where we sent the request, but then it was redirected. Therefore, it has also captured the redirected response also. Okay, so if this is checked, it will check that, it will take care of redirection. Then the next option we have is Infer HTML resources. So this is the next checkbox, Infer HTML resources. Now, when you send a request, it is not just the main content that you receive, but you also receive some other HTML resources like CSS, JavaScript, images, etc. So when this option Infer HTML resources is checked, it will take care of that, and it will analyze the recorded responses and add the requests for necessary HTML resources like all this. Okay, and this will make your performance test more realistic, because that is what will happen when a real user will use it. The browser of the real user will also infer all these HTML resources along with the main content, and that is what we also want to make our performance test very realistic. And if it is disabled, either you will have to manually add the requests and whatever things you need to analyze along with the main content, you will have to add it, otherwise it will not check that, it will not take care of that. So now this can be useful sometimes when you are doing debugging. You don't want any additional HTML resources, or maybe due to some other reasons you just want to check that, okay, I want to check the main content and I don't want to refer any additional resources or HTML content. In that case you can uncheck it, but otherwise it will be checked by default. Okay, the next option, the next checkbox we have is automatic referrers. Now in real world it happens that when we browse, when we use any application, any website, based on our request, uh, based on our previous request, there are some settings saved, and then based on our earlier requests, it sends subsequent uh, requests and helps us in our navigation and using the application by storing some of our requests and responses and our behavior. Now that will also happen if you make this automatic reference checked, and that will be again close to a real world test, because that will also happen for a real user. And if it is unchecked, it will not set the referrer header automatically, and if you want you can do it manually separately. Okay, next is remove cache headers. Now again, in a real world test or in a real world usage of any application, when we send a request to the server and the server sends back a response, there is some caching happens, and uh, the reason it happens is so that the next time we go to that particular request, or we go to a particular page or a server or send the same request, it takes less time, it knows the location, it will store some things on maybe the client or the server end. Now if we have, by default it is checked remove cache headers, and the reason it is checked is we don't want to save cache headers, otherwise it will not mimic a separate user every time. It will work as a user who has already used the application and knows what to send, and the server knows from where the request is coming, and it will also save some caches. So we don't want that, therefore it is by default check. But if you want you can uncheck it, and in case you uncheck it, it may be useful in case you just want to check the caching functionality. So that in that case you can uncheck it, and then it will start caching and you can check that. Otherwise by default it is checked, means it is removing the cache headers, and this is how it will work as a real world performance test. Okay, now next option is save and check response bodies. You can check, see this one here, save and check response bodies. Now if you check this option, the recorder will store the content of the response for every request, and this can be useful if you want to check the response body and the content, and want to make some kind of want to do some kind of checks on the request body and the content. In that case you can check it. However, it will be very resource intensive and it can take extra memory, extra space, so by default it is unchecked. But in case you want, you can check it, and then you can do some checks on the response. Okay, so these are the main check boxes in a Gatling recorder. Alright, So now next we have simulation script. So here until now we have seen how to use Gatling, the two ways. We have seen the Gatling standalone setup, how to use it, how to use the standalone Gatling. We have also seen how to use the Gatling recorder in HER converter mode and proxy mode. Then we looked at how can we use Gatling as a project in a project with a build tool like Maven and the IDE. And here we have seen both the options. How can we create a new Maven project and how can we clone an existing project, and then how can we use the recorder and the Gatling runner from the project. How do we run it, how do we see the reports, and then we have seen uh, some more details and options and features of the Gatling recorder. So in the next session we will see some more features, we will see some more topics like simulation script, virtual users, API testing, feeders, correlation, command line assertions, and so on. So I'm going to stop this part, and then in the next part we will see all these topics. So I will see you in the next part. Thank you for watching and never stop learning.